Welcome to Sis Let's Talk Leadership. My name is Kristi Burns,
And I'm Melissa Walsh,
and this is where we unmask the myths.
and we own the journey.
And so today is amazing, as always. I know you hear us say that, but it's not cliche, it's real. And so we are here today with Miss Teri Miller as our special guest. And so our topic is the mission to a vision. So we're going to dive a little bit deep and see what that looks like. But before we get started, we are going to let Teri introduce herself.
I'm Teri Miller, and I'm from Georgia. Served as the chair of Middle Georgia State University's Department of Respiratory Therapy and Health Sciences. I've been a respiratory therapist this year is 35 years, and I enjoy what I do. I enjoy what I do.
Fire forth. Not that hard. Well, I think it's so awesome, Teri. Since I met you, I feel that you're just very inspiring in who you are and your personality. You're incredibly warm, and I feel like from the moment we met, you just embraced me. And it's something that I shared earlier this week with some colleagues was I didn't take that traditional route to immediately be involved with AARC after I graduated. And I did it much later on when I had started in leadership. But I felt at the moment that we met, you were just ready to invite me in and not make Congress or some reform intimidating. And I would love to know, is that part of just who you are as a personality in general overall, or is that something that you just became that way over time through your experiences?
I will be honest with you. I wish I had started that way. But honestly, it's from other people wrapping their arms around me, bringing me into the fold, making me feel a part of it. I have such wonderful mentors through the years that helped me in each stage of my profession. And as I look back, I didn't start off. I did not attend a state meeting or a national meeting until probably a little bit into my career, and I missed so much by not doing that. But it was when I made some of those personal connections. I remember one of my friends and colleagues, Beth Brown. She kind of took me under her wing and said, "Come on, we need to do this and introduce you to people." And I think that that's what it is. When people make you feel welcome and they make you feel a part, then you are a part of something bigger. And you also want to bring other people in. I hope that's what I do.
It's definitely happened with me, and certainly.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about what support looks like and reaching back and not forgetting like where you came from. That is a huge part, I think, of not only our journeys as leaders individually, but the people who are the next generation of leaders. And so if we don't reach back and, help those individuals, then what are we doing? And so let's talk a little bit about the mission versus a vision, because there is a slight difference. So what do you feel like a mission is for you versus a vision?
I really feel like when you set that vision of where you want to go, okay, this is what I want to achieve.
Yeah.
Right. And it falls in there with it's that big thing. And as far as the mission, this is what is at our core. Okay, this is why I do what I do. And as you think about the vision, that's where I'm trying to take those things and go there. And then I think that things fall in line when you know this is what my passion is. And this is where I see myself later. And I think that building, if we think about building a vision of where we want to go, I think professionally.
Yeah.
I think that we don't ever go there alone, right? We've got to take people with us. And we've got to rely on other people to be a part of that. And so in seeing that where we want to go, we have to figure out who can I work with in order to achieve that. And I think that that's so essential to that, whether it's personally or professionally.
All right. So I think what I'm hearing you saying just in general is that the mission is the core of kind of like who we are as individuals. It's that foundation that we have, but the vision is how are we going to get to the end goal? And if we're looking at it from a professional standpoint, how are we going to get the buy-in? What are we going to do to help our teams or students, understand where we're coming from and why to get to the end result, whether it's better patient outcomes or, depending on the arena that we're looking at. But yeah, that's a good outlook on that.
Because if you remember a conversation you and I had at summer forum, we were sitting at a little table. Well, we were standing, we're still sitting. They were not that kind. We were standing and you came and talked to me and you said to me, like, well, what do you want to do? And it really paused me to think. Because I think one of the beautiful things that you have shared and many other, I feel like females in this profession have shared with me is world is your oyster. You can really do anything you want to do. And one of the pieces of advice that you gave me about moment that I carried for the last couple of years is try things, and see if you like them. But then once you decide this is not for me, put that back on the shelf. Just leave it there. You did it. It was a great experience. You learned from it and then focus on the next thing.
Yeah.
And I remember you sharing with me that eventually I'm going to find what it is that my vision is. Because when you asked me, I was like, I'm not really sure. I wasn't sure. I didn't have that clarity. And a lot of the times coming to these events, you meet such wonderful people. You can really get lost in it. And it's very hard to focus on, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And I love that I was able to be part of a group that was developed by our national organization that provided me the ability to focus my energy on things that are important to me that I think led me to you. And then you led me to this podcast, which is amazing. But can you share a little bit more of how you've helped others find what it is that they want to do in the small ways?
What I can share is that trial and error, just as you mentioned, I wish that I had started and said, okay, this is exactly where I want to go. This is how I'm going to get there. And I'd had that vision of impact forward. But I will say at the essence of who I am as a professional is I want to do good things for others. And I think that all respiratory therapists to their core want to make sure that they are serving others to the best of their ability. And that can be in many different ways. But it took me a while to really see that. What I found through some trial and error, and we talk about leadership and things we do along those lines, I wish I'd always been a easy. And I wasn't, was guided in some directions that was not the best. It was more of a manager versus a leader. What I found for myself was it was not actually very fulfilling to do it that way. It didn't make me feel like who I was. And so I had to do what you said, like, well, okay, step back, reevaluate where do I want to go? What are my passions? What makes me feel good at the end of the day? And what I found is I really enjoyed working with students. I really enjoyed the educational side of things. And from there, I started building those pieces. Okay, what is along the way? You're going to find challenges in your personal life, in your professional life, and in all parts of life. And it does more harm to fight those challenges and to wish for other things than it does to embrace it. Say, okay, change is happening. I've got to face this, and this is how am I going to get there? And so that's kind of how I approach it is, all right, so let's do this. And I think that's really the important part.
I want to go back to the question that she stated that you asked and that you stated that you asked as well. But where do you see yourself, or where are you going, or what do you want to do? And I think that when we hear that, we think that we're supposed to have an answer. And you do not have to have an answer. Just like you said, you didn't know. But the advice that you gave with the whole trial and error is the route that you take. And that's how you figure it out. But I think that for our listeners in general, I think it's super important to let them know that we don't always know what that direction is. We don't always know what our mission is for ourselves or setting our own personal goals. We don't always know what the vision is going to be, whether it's personally or professionally. And that's okay. But what are you going to do in order to figure that out?
And I think something else you do really well, and I'm just going to take this time to talk about other things that I let it not be. But I think something else you do really well is like you're such a fantastic cheerleader. I don't know that there's anything that I have done when we are at these types of events that you have not like come back and provided some words of encouragement or some feedback or like, hey, I saw you up there. And it's so important, I think, as someone with your level of expertise and the feedback that you can provide. Never once did I feel judged. You gave me feedback in a way that I never felt like I did something wrong. Or it was always like, hey, you did this, that's great. Try something like this, like pivot a little here. And I am so curious to know, where did you learn all that grace? Because you're one class late.
I wish I could say, it started that way, but I learned to trial and error. And at the end of the day, I think we have to walk away and feel like we've done good. And if we kill spirit in how we give feedback, then we haven't accomplished it, what we're trying to do. Right. And so also by avoiding truth, right? Sometimes the truth can be hard. We haven't done any good either. And so I've tried to emulate, grow, develop those qualities that I find inspiring and or that inspired me. And I've got some good mentors along the way that's done it. And when I do it well, and I get feedback like that, it means a lot because at the end of the day, uh, what I do only has a certain amount of reach. But what the people who I work with, if you take it from there, do, that's reached far beyond. And so if I can impact and make a difference in small ways, then I don't know whether this will land one day, but I know that it'll be good things.
That right there reminds me of something that I always say, and it's that the gift that we have is not for us. The journey along the way, getting to finding out what that gift is, it's not for us to celebrate, but to serve. So once you realize the students was your audience, students was the people that, you felt more prone to nurture, I guess you could say. It made a huge difference in probably like your journey, because that's what I'm hearing, and becoming the best leader that you knew how to be. When we take it back to like vision and mission, do you feel like at some point it can be changed? Like, do you feel like that's a myth, or it can actually happen?
I think that you can change your mission. I think you can change your mission. And when I say that, there could be different missions in your life, right? You can serve personal missions. You can serve missions to a higher calling. You can serve missions to your professional world. You can serve missions to those who are the closest, your family and those, right? There's different ones. And, in each one of those, making sure that you bring those people along with you and that at the end of the day, you can say, okay, I'm good with this. And that I made a difference. It's just positive. And if there's some direction, I'm a true believer that you can change. You can get do-overs, and opportunities to be the better version of who you are. Because I can tell you, when I first started as a manager and in leadership, I was not a good leader. I did things that I look back on and I was like, oh my gosh, did I really say that? Or did I really do that? Or did I approach it that way? And, I feel bad about some of those things. But I also learned from it. And if I can take those hard lessons of what I didn't do for someone and turn it around to help someone else, then that's part of the growth. And we're always growing. You're never gonna stop. Right?
I think that's beautiful because it really gives you hope that even earlier on, as we start something through experiences, we can really hone into the lessons learned. I really do think and pivot, right? And completely just change the way that we make things, the way we make do with things. And, I can also think of times where like, oh, I'm not proud of the way that I did that. Let me go back. And I've gone back and particularly asked, like, just told somebody, like, hey, I'm really sorry. That was not okay. I should have handled that better. And I think that humble expertise also comes in a long way. And I'm very grateful that I feel like you and I are having the opportunity to learn a lot of this from people that have so good experience. They're so willing to pass those lessons on. And I don't think that we have to live them ourselves to understand and learn. Yeah. But I think it's great that you take the time to embrace others and pass that knowledge on to them so that we can do better in the long, especially as I feel that you have endeavored into areas where perhaps an RT was not the first one there, or perhaps female was not the first one there. And I would love to know is as you saw what your mission was and what your long-term and short-term vision, right? Because those can also coexist. How did you navigate those situations? What words of encouragement would you give someone that is trying to navigate some situations in which they feel that they're getting a lot of opposition?
I would say that number one, remember you have value. What you have learned, where you've gone, only you have that experience, and each person has that value. And you can either listen to others that maybe don't appreciate that, or you can say, okay, I'm going to demonstrate and show my value. And I've done that many times as a respiratory therapist and so on, and as all the different roles. And in my experience, you can't do it in a forceful way. You can't lay it out there and expect to get the results that you want. And I really do believe that it comes down to communication. It's how you communicate in those situations. I remember so vividly as a newer respiratory therapist. I had a situation where several of us were sitting down in the evening, and something had happened clinically at the bedside, and I'd had a student with me, and I was like, I believe it was a physician was going to intubate, did that and everything, and I was saying, she really needed that experience, and the others are around the table. The older therapists were like, well, yeah, why don't you just go tell to that physician about that? I thought, well, I guess I could. So I called him up and we set up a time and I met him and just laid it out. Now listen, in retrospect, I realized I was beat set up. I was honest. But when I explained to him and talked with him about the reasons and so validated what he was doing, but also explained how this could benefit other patients in the long run and what we were trying to achieve. He agreed. And I was so glad to be able to say it.
Right. I know. That's awesome. That is awesome. And I think my question, because I was going to ask, I think it goes right along with kind of what you answered and how Alyssa just asked it. But what do you do like when you have challenges or people hold you to your old vision and your old mission that you had, and you are evolving and you are, just changing your practices and the way that you do things. But for some reason, the past just keeps coming up. What advice would you give someone who's going through that right now?
We never can change where we've been, right? Right. You can only grow from it. And then I think that one of the things I would do is just say, yeah, this is where I was and this is what I did. And this is why I'm going here now. And help someone else to understand your perspective and what your end goal is. And not everybody's going to receive it. And that's okay. It's one of those things where, you can only be from your level of influence, but help them to understand what the new vision is, and not only that, but bring them into it. How can they be a part of where you're going? And also, I think it's so important is to understand what their perspective is, because they may have a reason that they're going back and associating what was to what can be, and I think that's it.
Putting it in a different perspective. Mindset shift, basically.
Absolutely.
And figuring out a common ground of maybe why you continue to go back to my past when I'm trying to get past it, but then looking at it as a mindset shift and changing that perspective by hearing where the person's coming from. And I appreciate that it's almost like an invitation. Yeah, first like you're home, right? And I love that you're always talking about them, always becoming, we're always arriving. It's not like a end zone. Like this is it. This is where you've arrived. You're here and now it's over. It's like a continuous thing, and you bring that up, and we always live. Yeah. True. But I do think that they're foundational concepts. Yeah, will carry on. I am curious to know, 35 years. What has kept that fire and passion alive for you over the years?
I think it's just challenges. I really do. When I think about, I remember being in school and I never wanted education. And over time, I found different stages in life. being the bedside therapist and be the best bedside therapist I can be, and the experience I couldn't be who I am if I hadn't had those. But in each stage, it's helped me see along the way paths forward. And so, and looking at, where you go from here, it's really adapting to say, okay, what's my passion? Where can I make a difference? One of the things that I've really embraced is serving on the volunteer side of our profession. It is, I do it. I teach professionally, and I serve as as a manager, educational leader, program director. But serving to make our profession better in the long run, I see it so important. Yeah, if I can leave this profession stronger than when I came into it, or where we are, then that's currently what does it for me, because I know we've had some challenges. We've got to have more respiratory therapists out there in the workforce. We've got to have more respiratory therapists out there in leadership roles in healthcare. We've got to have more respiratory therapists out there serving and being recognized and doing those things. And the bottom line is, it's not about me, and it's not about us, right? And it's about those patients we serve. And when they don't have that access to the respiratory therapists and have quality representation from those caregivers, then, it's not as good. It's just not as good. I will tell you, it wasn't until a few years ago. I just, had gone listen to the flag floating ceremony. And it always touches my heart because my dad's picture comes up in that ceremony as a veteran. But he and I went through a challenge and a trial together. I've been a respiratory therapist for many years, and I had gone to Washington, D.C. to advocate for respiratory therapists and all of that. But until I lived through that experience with him, his developing pulmonary fibrosis, and living in rural Georgia, away from easy access to health care, and not being able to get the oxygen needs that he had, and to live through that experience, he got a respiratory therapist that was trying to advocate and help him along the way. What does somebody do that does not have a respiratory therapist there to help them? And really opened my eyes, because that's what patients challenged with. And when we try to do some of those big things on the volunteer side of advocating for having respiratory therapists to serve our patients, for me, it comes back down to those moments together when we were fighting that battle. It is.
Volunteering. Some people shy away from that. I'm pretty sure people have their various reasons in doing so. Some of it's usually like a lack of knowledge, or they don't know where to start, where to go. Because even with me, I would say within the last 2 years, I've been a therapist nowhere near 30, but the 16 years that I have been in respiratory, I still have kind of, trying to figure things out. And I just think that, it's super important to kind of zone into that and figure out what that looks like for you. Because when you don't know which way to go, like, who do you reach out to? What do you say? What do you do?
I think it's kind of like you're in a big room, right? You're doing a presentation. You've both done presentations before, and you're going to have different people doing things. What do? You connect with that one person who's got eye contact and who helps, supports you. Then your eyes might, that's your kind of, all right, find those people in that group and connect with them. And that's where you find that team of folks who are advisors. Bottom, at the end of the day, I'm overall a quiet person. Being out in front has never been my thing. And I know that sounds funny, but it's not. I'm more of an introvert. But when I'm passionate about something, I don't mind fighting for something. And I think that is what we have to do. We have to fight for the things we want. We want to fight and make sure that we've got that voice that we need. We want to make sure that we are connecting to do the things that we want to accomplish. And sometimes we have to push through some of those hard times and know some of those hard people in order to do it. And that's what it takes. It also takes a team. It takes bringing people with you that want to fight these battles.
And we hear it all the time. Like, are we intentional about that behind me? Are we truly supporting? If you come back to what you were mentioning about
advocacy, volunteer work. Sometimes I think people shy away from it because they want immediate change.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes it takes several years, maybe a couple decades to get that outcome.
Sometimes it takes a long time for turns. I think of it was just paint a picture. You don't, artistically, you don't, start drawing and automatically have that beautiful picture where you have to start with the background and you have to lay the foundation, and then you start bringing in the other pieces of colors and focus in on that main part where everything else shines around it. It takes planning sometimes. It does take a lot of reflection and takes thought, and it takes bringing more people to the table in order to get that full picture of where you want to go. I think that's for me, visually, that represents when I try to take a plan, strategic plan, right? To whatever the project is. That's the idea. What does it take? Who do we need to have in the picture in order to help us get there? Or what do I need to do to get over?
Yeah. And that's the mission. How are we going to get there? What are we going to do? I see it, the light at the end of the tunnel, but where's the rest of the travel? Beautiful tunnel.
Yeah, that was you're awesome.
Yeah.
You're amazing. Introverted, but really awesome. You can say you're quiet, but when you speak, you say some very valuable things. You do. It's what matters, right? It's not how many words we say or how much time we speak for, but make words count.
Yeah.
That's really important. Ready to play a game?
I'm ready. Let's play the games.
The game.
It's super fun. It is very simple.
So simple. So it's basically, as we say, unmasking the myths and owning the journey. We're unmasking who you are as an individual in a very fun way. And so we're into a comparison. Or we'll ask a question or make a statement, and then you kind of just say yea or nay, or give whatever your answer is, and we're participating, because I know it's been most. And like, is it just me or what? We're all in this together. So I'm going to ask probably about 2 questions, and then Melissa will decide as well. So, apples or oranges?
Apples. Oranges, but they have to be sweet.
Yeah, oranges. Are you a heels girl or a flats?
In between.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think over time it's changed. I'm a sneaker girl now.
Yeah, it's just too much. You're running around too much.
Yeah, a lot walking, a lot. It's a lot. So, and my feet, this high arch that I have won't let me be great. So,
I'm going to sneaker. It's definitely leaning that way.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Tea. Really?
Yeah, tea.
I mean, honestly, I'm just a Southern tea. Like, it doesn't have to have sugar, doesn't have to have anything. Just give me regular green tea.
There's something new about it. Okay. The beach or the mountains?
Ooh, it's a hard one. That's a hard one for me.
Relax with me.
Mountains, bubble.
I like the beach these days. Yeah. I do love the mountains. I get car sick, so it's really hard for me. I always have to fall asleep when we're going up the mountain and stuff like that. But I do love a good hike.
Yeah.
The hike gets to me. Like, I love it when I get there. We used to do these annual cabin trips with like other couples. We kind of make it like an unofficial marriage retreat. And we would go up there, and I would do the same thing. I would have to fall asleep. I can't look at it. I can't think about it. Just tell me what I'm here. And one time we got stuck in a snowstorm. And I kid you not, we prayed, and the Lord held the sun so that we can get up the mountain. Our car wouldn't get up. Yeah, so we haven't actually been since that moment. So it's the beach for me.
Yeah. See, for me, I like them both. I mean, each one of them. And it actually, as you mentioned it gives me the same feeling, because the closer I get to those, it's like the weight comes off my shoulders and I feel more relaxed, and it's let down the windows and, the beach, or enjoy the mountains and the cool air. And yeah.
I mean, yes,
Y'all making me want the beach and the mountains.
well, hopefully soon you'll be able to travel to there. Yes, but I think this has been amazing. You've given some amazing insights. We love your journey. We can literally see your journey. And I think that's what's the great thing about just some of the testimony that she's given from me personally, and even from me just meeting you. You do have a very warm and welcoming spirit. You're very supportive. You don't mind reaching out. You're just that girl. And so I said girl, but we're like, but yeah, so it was an honor to have you here. So for our listeners, first, could you tell us what would you leave with them in a sense of maybe something that you wish you knew, since we kind of talked about your journey? And then after then, give us 2 words that may describe, your leadership and the impact that you make, whether you want to accept it or not, we see it and you're making an amazing impact. So what would that be?
Well, I tell my students this all the time. You never know today where you're going to go tomorrow. And you never know who along the journey is going to be important in your life. So as you go, you bring people in, because those people, and especially in the respiratory world, we're a pretty small little world overall. And those connections are really important. So it's important to do that. And I would say the other thing is just to enjoy the process, enjoy people as you go. And the other thing is have some balance on the way. Make sure that it's not all focused in one area. That you have to secure yourself there. I will say, sometimes I don't do what I say, but I think it's really important. I look at what both of you are accomplishing, and it makes me so happy, because it's our future growing, and you're doing tremendous things. The fact that you're doing this it just makes me happy.
Thank you. Which I think we have a lot of great people that's been made to inspire us. Really inspired us to do this. And Kristi and I have talked about the why behind this. And it truly was something that we were looking for. And we had another guest earlier this week, and they were talking about, like, sometimes you just have to press play. Sometimes it's not. Stop waiting for things to be perfect, for the climate to be perfect, to have all the tools. Just go forward to see what happens. But we're very grateful for the support and the encouragement, and most certainly for your time and your wisdom that you shared with us today.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say that with the topic being, ambition to a vision, is since the mission is more so knowing kind of like who you are, get to know who you are as an individual. And it starts young, it starts in school, but know who you are, because when you reach those challenges, it will be so much easier to zone back into the value that you spoke on earlier that you have, and knowing your uniqueness and what you bring to the table. So invest in yourself, so that when you create that vision and that goal for whatever it is, whatever season that you're in, you're able to have a great foundation of who you are in order for people to get the buy-in and to help you, support you along the journey.
I love it.
Yeah. So, well, thank you again, Teri. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in to Sis Let's Talk Leadership. We will see you next time. Bye.